Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. What can be said about their 2017 season and the utter disappointment that it ultimately ended up being that I haven't kind of already touched on, alluded to, or said before? I don't know if there's that much, honestly. Because for this Steelers team, to me, it felt like this was kind of the crap or get off the pot year for them, 2017. This was the year where they went to the AFC Championship game last year. They didn't have a healthy Le'Veon Bell, and they got trounced. But they had gotten to that point. Now it felt like if you could keep the big three healthy, and if you could get to the playoffs with the big three healthy, that they had a chance. And if you were looking at a team that was going to be the biggest threat or the biggest contender to the Patriots' throne and the biggest threat to end the Patriots' dominance in the AFC, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame wide receiver, probably a Hall of Fame running back too. And when you look at a really good offensive line with two all-pro, Pro Bowl type of guys in the middle, like David Castro and Marquise Pouncey, you're looking at this offense and you're saying, man, this offense is something. This offense can be special. And if they can keep all three of those big studs, the Hall of Famers, healthy, the killer bees, then they're the team that could, whether it's in Pittsburgh or Foxborough, go in there and beat them. And that's what I thought, at least. And as the season played out, that's really what it felt like. Because, I mean, all kidding aside, this was a team that went 13-3. They won their division going away. And even with that late season game against the New England Patriots, with the controversial call with Jesse James, and it's not a catch, you looked at that, to me, and I felt like, even though AB went out earlier in the game with the injury, they were able to be in a position late in the game to win, without the best wide receiver arguably in the National Football League, because you got Juju Smith-Schuster making plays, Le'Veon Bell making plays, Big Ben doing big things. I'm like, they can do this. And even though it was a loss, it felt like it was a victory, and it felt like it was a huge victory, because the Steelers had shown that they could bang with the Patriots, and when the time came, they may indeed have just enough to get by them. It felt like to me at that point that it was going to be their year, because AB was going to be healthy come the divisional round. Now you've got the killer bees. They're all healthy. It's just a matter of time. And for so many of us, let's be honest, we looked at it and we thought the NFC was a complete dogfight. A complete dogfight. Where any of those six teams that got in had a chance. And frankly, the team that we thought probably had the least chance to get there out of any of the six might have been the damn number one seed that actually did go to the Super Bowl from the NFC, and the Philadelphia Eagles. But all season long, you had this aura, especially as the season played out and the Chiefs fell off and all this foolishness. It was Patriots, it was Steelers, and that's what it was. And it was like inevitable. It was the presumptive AFC Championship game. Sometimes be careful making those assumptions. Because as we found out, if you were in the camp with me, and I know a lot of you were, whether you're going to admit it or not, sometimes when we assume, we know what that does. It makes an ass out of you and me. And unfortunately for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they got a little too distracted. They got a little too focused on New England. They got a little too focused on their revenge tour. They got a little too focused on the AFC Championship game, and apparently completely forgot they had a divisional round game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I understand what the Jaguars, they're the Jaguars. How seriously are you going to take them? Blake Bortles is their quarterback. How seriously are you going to take them? But the bottom line is once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. And you must be ready, you must be prepared, you must be at the top of your game, or your ass is going to be sent home packing. And how embarrassing to go down in the fashion that they did. What was it, 21-0, 28-7, early on in that game? The Jaguars had a couple of 20-plus point leads on the Pittsburgh Steelers. These were the guys that were supposed to cakewalk through the Jags, like the Patriots cakewalk through the Titans. And this is going to be the AFC Championship game of AFC Championship games, the best we've seen in years. And all that crap didn't happen. And as this game played out, it really felt like to me, you had the three amigos are trying to sit there, and Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, doing everything they can to make up the ground. Do everything they can to win this damn game. Do everything they can to make sure they get a crack and a shot in New England the next week. And all the while, the coaching staff, whether it was Todd Haley and questionable offensive play calling, Keith Butler and questionable defensive play calling and game planning, and Mike Tomlin for just some idiotic decisions in general that I've already talked about, they were doing everything they could to sabotage their Hall of Fame guys who were trying to lead them to victory in spite of the stupidity of their coaching staff. It was an interesting dynamic that was playing out. Like every time it felt like Ben, Bell, Brown were putting this team in a position where they could have a chance to still win this damn game, Mike Tomlin, Todd Haley, Keith Butler kept striking again and again and again. And we all know what ultimately happened. They came up short. They got upset. The Jaguars went on to the AFC Championship game and stuck a real game to the Patriots. And guess what the Steelers did? They watched that game at home, or they played against the Patriots in Madden. And if I had to guess, Mike Tomlin clicked that bitch on coach mode and easy mode. And he lost to the Patriots any damn ways. It didn't matter. And it's easy to sit there and say, in that particular game, you look at it and you blame Todd Haley, Keith Butler, and Mike Tomlin. And there's plenty of blame to go around there for the performance of that individual game. I point back to something that I talk about every single year with this stupid-ass Steelers team. It's the loss or two that they have during the season that they have no business having. It's one thing to lose to the Patriots in the controversial fashion. It's one thing earlier in the year when you lose to the Jaguars, you might have some bad games. Big Ben throws 5 picks. Leonard Fournette runs all over you. The defense you can't figure out from the Jaguars because they're speedy, they're athletic, they've got talent at all 3 levels. They're a scary group. But it's that week 3 loss to the Chicago Bears in overtime at Soldier Field. You had absolutely no business losing to those jokers. And as much as you can focus on the Jacksonville loss in the regular season and the Patriots loss in the regular season, if the Steelers didn't do what the Steelers do every year under Mike Tomlin, which is underachieve and underperform against crappy teams, and they beat the Bears like the hell they should have, then this very well could have been a 14-2 Pittsburgh Steelers team that had the number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs, and most notably and importantly of all, potentially, would have been able to avoid Jacksonville and ended up playing Tennessee in the divisional round, a team that they took it to pretty good already in the regular season. It's the entirety of the body of work that sometimes can get you to that point. If you beat the Bears, you might not be playing the Jaguars in the divisional round. So it might not have been an issue. And it's again a reflection of Mike Tomlin. And I know Todd Haley's been set packing. And I know Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere. And I know he's taken the team to 2 Super Bowls and he's won 1. But that was a long time ago. At what point in time do you have to realize, while the players might really get along with him and he might be really good to them, is that ultimately he might not be the right guy to do what you are supposed to be in a position to do, which is win another championship. There's nothing wrong with saying thanks for all that you've done, but you might not be the best guy to get us there. And losses like to the Chicago Bears indicate it's a problem. The fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers came out completely flat like they did in the divisional round where they had 2 weeks to prepare, and that's what they did in the first half against the Jaguars, indicates significant problems with the coaching staff up to and including the head coach. And for those that are going to sit there and defend Tomlin by pointing to Bill Cowher losing in the AFC Championship game multiple times before he finally got over the hump, you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Let's not mention that Mike Tomlin won his Super Bowl with a core that primarily was from the Cowher era. Let's also not mention the fact that Bill Cowher didn't have all these damn Hall of Famers and Pro Bowlers on the offensive side of the ball. He didn't. You know, even if you point to 2004, Big Ben was a rookie at that point in time. Give me a break. The next year, they won it all. He's trying to go there with guys like Neil O'Donnell. He got to a Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell, for Christ's sakes. He tried to get there with Cordell Stewart's and Tommy Maddox's of the world, and so on and so forth. It is not a comparable situation. They are not the same. Bill Cowher, in so many ways, was a vastly superior in-game coach to Mike Tomlin. And while they each have a Super Bowl championship, each have a Super Bowl loss, it's just not the same, so cut it out. And the bottom line is, for the egg that they laid and for all the other crap, that should have been the point that said Mike Tomlin might not be the guy anymore. Now, for all I know, they can come right back and rally around him and rally around themselves and win it all in 2018. But based off of what you saw in 2017, what makes you think that they could take another step in 2018? I'm just not going to dive in and be fooled again. This is crazy. And in the offseason, they don't have really any salary cap space. I think they're a little bit over the cap, and they got to figure out what they're going to do with Le'Veon Bell. I would expect they're going to get a long-term deal done with him, and they need to at this point, because you've got a limited window of opportunity. You know, more likely than not, you've got Big Ben for at least 2018. You've got Antonio Brown in the prime of his career. You need to have Le'Veon Bell there in the prime of his career. Big Ben can still make big plays happen at big times, as you saw in that divisional game, as again, the Killer Bees tried to do everything they could to win that damn game, where their coaching staff tried to do everything they could to sabotage them and lose that damn game, and the coaching ended up winning out. If you ever wanted to see an example of how poor coaching cost a team an important game, it was that AFC divisional round where Doug Marrone and his staff vastly outcoached Mike Tomlin and his staff, period. So the Steelers need to get Le'Veon Bell back in and hope to God they get something different to happen in 2018. In terms of the draft, what do they need? They've got, 7 picks. They don't have a 4th rounder because of the Vance McDonald deal, but they do have 2 5ths. They're picking 28th overall in round 1. What's crazy about it is they went 13-3, and even with losing Ryan Shazier late in the year, it just didn't seem to make that much of a difference. But I felt like you could see the difference in the AFC divisional round when they lacked that athleticism at the inside linebacker position. And even with Shazier, it felt like inside linebacker could potentially be addressed. But especially not knowing if he'll ever be able to play again, it has become kind of the de facto need number 1. And I would expect this team to address it at some point in time, whether it's in round 1, round 2, round 3. At some point in time, it's going to have to be addressed, because not having a guy like a Shazier in the middle of that defense is an impact. It does make a significant difference. Absolutely. When you're talking about a team that gave up 38 points to the Jags offense. And before you smart ass to say, well, he scored 45, 7 of those came from a pick 6, shut up. But they gave up a ton of points to a Jaguars offense. They need a guy like Shazier. I'm still not 100% sold on their safeties. I feel like they could use that Polamalu type guy at safety. I'm not saying they're going to get that out of this draft class, but I feel like they could use an upgrade there for sure. And I still feel like they could use help at corner, but I could say that about so many other teams. Perhaps using some edge rush depth. You know, when you look at them offensively, maybe some offensive line depth. Maybe with Martavis Bryant potentially leaving, you look at maybe drafting another wide receiver and hoping that they can come in and have a Juju Smith type of impact, Smith-Schuster impact like he did in 2017 as a rookie. But this team doesn't have a lot of needs, except a new head coach, and unfortunately you can't just draft one. Maybe they could package up all of their picks and trade it to New England for Belichick. I'm kidding. But if they could find a better coach, it'd be worth every single pick in this draft. Because for the Steelers, what they're doing is wasting a golden opportunity. What the Steelers are doing is really costing themselves a Lombardi trophy or 2, and they're slamming their own damn door shut on that opportunity to win a championship. And it truly, truly feels like if this wasn't the year, that 2018 is truly going to be shit or get off the pot for this franchise.